it's 280 hours total to graduate. 30 of those hours are actually training hours, but I'm going to change this because we're switching who we're going through. Our certificate's currently through the Keck Graduate Institute, but we're actually switching over to UCLA here within the next, hopefully, month or two. But your certificate's going to be in pre-licensed clinical care and patient experience. And every hospital and healthcare system that you're in, patient experience is like the number one. I've listened to a lot of speakers from different hospitals, and every single one of them is like, what we do best is patient experience, because that is what keeps your hospital going and keeps your members there. So there's a lot of opportunities. I'll go ahead and move on. As far as our scholar goals, we have certain things that you're allowed to do. We have a few that are like a hard no. But this slide just gives you a few examples of things that you can assist and help with. But as far as like the training process, I said there's 30 hours before we let you out on the floor. So we provide training on skills like ambulating a patient, how to catch a patient if you are ambulating them and they happen to fall, feeding, repositioning, helping out of a wheelchair. There's a lot of little steps that come with that. How do you put your protective gear on and off, getting in and out of a room? Call lights, how do you work a bed in a hospital? There's a lot of buttons there. So we provide all of that training up front to help you have a leg up on your competition. And it gives you a lot of talking points, and it makes you just a lot more confident when the time comes because you've seen it firsthand and you have an understanding of that. Let me go ahead and move on. So this is just a really generic example of some different departments and units that we have. You can see it's the tiered system there. Every hospital has different departments open. We have a lot of hospitals we're located with in Orange County. So there's a couple ways you can pick your site that you go to. You can pick on location, so you have to go there a lot. So sometimes a 15-minute drive is better than a 30-minute drive for you. If you have a very specific career path direction that you want to go, a good example would be like radiology. We only have 2 sites in Orange County that will have that opportunity for you, so we can point those out. So keep that in mind. If you're like, I have something very specific I'm looking for, talk to a program manager. If we don't have it at our site, we'll point you in the direction to go. A good example is Mission Hospital down in Mission Viejo. They're the only program that has a formal physician shadowing program. They also have a level 3 trauma center. So if that's a direction you want to go, it's worth the drive down to Mission Viejo to get to that. So keep that in mind. There's a lot of different tiers there.
Okay, so that's just like coming up.
Yeah, sorry. But the way the process works is there's an online application that you have to complete. It should not take you more than 15 minutes. It's very simple. There's a short essay question, which I would hope you can all answer. Why are you interested in healthcare? What draws you to the program? And then from there, we'll decide who we want to complete interviews with, and we'll extend that invitation out. Most sites, we do a virtual interview at this point because we realize it just works better when we're in a virtual age versus making you come to the site. And then we do more of an orientation as well to get you our site specifics and to really walk you through what that looks like. The interview is a panel interview, so you're interviewing with a group of people. We do that on purpose because that's something most of you have not encountered before, but you may encounter as you enter the workforce, and we want you to be familiar with things to prepare you. Oh, sorry, I can have you go back. Then you'll see, I talk with my hands too, so it's going to be tricky. Then we have our 30 hours of training. It's a combination of online videos, in-person training. Training day is terrifying for most people. Once you get through it, you're gonna like take a deep breath. But we bring you to the hospital in person. We partner you in small groups of scholars, typically about 3 to 4. We pair you with 2 current leaders at that hospital, so current scholars to teach you your skills. So we want it to be peer-to-peer teaching versus like me lecturing at you. And then our goal is to get you as many repetitions with all of actually interacting with the patient with that. After you go through training, we do have testing, which is the second day. Also a rough day, but when everybody makes it through, it's all smiles. We pick one practical skill at random to test you on, and then we have a written test that's 100 questions and multiple choice that you have to pass with that. So once you've passed everything at that point, we would start your department-specific training, your hospital tours, and getting you ready to be on the site. One of my favorite things that we do is before you are on a shift by yourself, we actually have you complete what we call a pre-rotational shift, PRS for short, or a shadow shift. I don't know why we have 5 different names for this, but we will have you partner with a current scholar on the floor that you will be shifting on for a shift. That way you can get familiar and you feel like you can ask somebody that's a peer your questions with that. So we really try to make this the least overwhelming as we can, but it's still a little bit nerve-wracking. But yeah, 280 hours to graduate. I do like to point out that you can stay in our program for longer than 280 hours for free. So if you need 1,000 hours for PA school applications, which I think that's a low estimate at this point, stay in our program and keep getting your clinical hours. There's no extra cost for that. So get that leg up. You don't have to keep pulling together different internship opportunities for that. And then you get your certificate. Ready. Leadership, these are just some examples of our team. So you can join enrollment, they help with clearance, they do interviews, our training team, all of our leaders train at all of our sites. That's just a requirement. Departments is really cool because you're actually going to round on specific departments and you get to interact with staff in a slightly different capacity than as a scholar because you're checking in on performance, things that need to be corrected, you're helping to coach and train incoming scholars on your department too. So there's a lot of different directions. You don't need to be the loudest person in the room. You can be a very shy, quiet person. I always say those are my strongest leaders because they watch, they observe, they point out things that the rest of us miss with that. But it is a great way to boost your applications, your resumes. Once you've hit the 280 hours, you actually can apply for reduced shifting. So if you're on the 15-month track, you only have to do 2 shifts a month at that point to help offset some of the duties there. Okay, alright. So requirements, I touched on this. You don't need a set of skills coming in. We interview on soft skills. So can you make it to the interview on time? Are you in an appropriate spot? If I give you a question, do you take a minute and think about it versus diving right in? Because that shows me in a hospital setting, you don't pause, think, and then move forward, that you may do something dangerous to yourself or the patient. So those are the things we look for. Every hospital has different health screenings that are required. So that's all site specific. You do need a 2.5 GPA or higher, and then you have to carry active health insurance throughout your time in the program. Okay. Program tracks. So this gives you a really nice breakdown on the differences as far as the program tracks. So all of these have slightly different tuition amounts based on how quickly you're looking to get through the program. It's a one-time fee that covers your background check, your uniform shirt, your badging costs at the hospital, your 30 hours of training, all of that good stuff. As far as the hours per month, you've got your breakdown there, but keep in mind that one of the things we do ask is when you join that you commit to whatever commitment that you've made, because that is part of professional development. As I told you I'll be there, I will be there. The other thing too is, I've had this happen, I've had people, they start at the 9-month track, they're 6 months in and they now have a part-time job, and they're like, I can't do this with this. Come talk to your program manager, we'll make adjustments for you. You're not like 100% locked in all the time. But we do request communication for that, so we can help. The number of departments you're in at a time depends on how fast you're going through with us. That's on purpose, because our goal is to get you as much exposure as possible that you want. And then you can see no matter what, it's 30 hours of training, 250 with that, if you, like I said, if you have a specific track, come talk to us. We'll help get you partnered with where you need to go. The other thing we do is each of our sites do staggered starts as far as applications, training starts. That way, if you're like, you know what, I have 6 months to knock this out, this hospital doesn't line up, we'll get you with one that will, if that's what you need to do. Perfect. We're not going to talk to those, but we have a lot of hospitals all up the West Coast. We even have some in hospital, or in Hawaii as well, so we're all over that. Okay, things to keep in mind. I put this up here just so you've got an idea of how far in advance you need to be planning. So my application's closed tomorrow for my group starting in April. Some of our sites have a little bit longer application interview deadlines. Depends on how long employee health takes to get you cleared. But you can see that you want to be planning a few months ahead before when you actually want to start. And that's because you've got to get cleared, badge, and go through training before you start shifting. If you're like, okay, I think summer's probably a really great time for me. That is our busiest time of year. I can only take 60 scholars at a time at my hospital. So plan ahead. If you're like, I know this is my date, apply early and get going. I'm not doing that to put pressure on you. I just want you to be aware of what that looks like. And then with that, you could do the interview. Training days, most of our sites, we stagger our training days because if you can't make it to my site but you want to start at my site, I can send you to another site if we have to. We prefer for you to be on our site because then you're more familiar and comfortable, but we'll send you somewhere else too. All of this to be said, we will try to work with you as much as we can. Okay. Our programs. I'm going to very quickly go over a few of these because they're not at our Orange County hospitals per se, but we've got some sites like Riverside in LA. So if you're like, clinical may not be it, I want you just to be aware of these other programs. I'm going to be honest, you're going to have to scan the QR code, put your info in to get your specifics answered because I don't have the answers for you. Go ahead. Care Navigator program. So if you're somebody where you would like to do more of the administrative side of healthcare, the Care Navigator program is going to be the better fit for you. MLK in LA and Riverside, Kaiser Permanente Riverside are the two closest locations that offer this program. Next slide. So you can see that's where those are offered, very similar requirements to join that program. We also now have a medical assistant training program, which is brand new as well. So this is something, you'll see it's 3 to 7 months. The person that teaches this customizes the program based on your availability. I don't have the cost for it, that's the #1 question I get, but if you submit that information, she will get you all of that and really take time to talk to you to see if this is a fit. You can see those are our locations that we're currently offering this program. It's relatively new, but hopefully we'll continue to see that expand. That's a lot. Questions? Okay. Yeah.
Can you transfer, like say, if you go home in the summer and you're not in Orange County, can you transfer to, say, like different hospitals that offer like
You can.
the program? Okay.
There's a fee for it. So it depends. Normally out of state is going to be like $175 to transfer. There's no cost to transfer back during the school year. I will say if that's something you want to do, you want to plan ahead because you've got to do all the clearance items for that hospital and do any specific training. So I ran into that last summer where people were partway through the summer and wanted to transfer, and I was like, well, by the time we can even get you through this, we won't quite be there for that. But if you know ahead of time, 100% do that. I have somebody that would be eligible to graduate this March from KPI. I think they're actually just going to transfer to Hoag to explore that hospital system. So you've got options there. Transfers are going to be a reduced price. With that being said, you do need to be in good standing when you transfer because we want to make sure that you are committing to what you've signed up for that. But yes, you do have that option. You could also do a LOA, leave of absence, for the summer as well for you. large group. I probably have about 50, 60 scholars that go home for the summer with that. Yeah.
Are we able to commit to more hours per session than required?
Yes, yeah, so the shifts are always the minimum. So the way it works is we have sign up deadlines, and then after that deadline, all shifts are free reign, and you can pick up as many extra as you would like. The caveat is if you pick it up, you need to go. You can't just be like, well, I already did my 4, I decided I don't want to do this now because my friend's having a birthday party. That puts the hospital staff in a really bad spot. Every site's a little bit different with the way that looks. So for me, it's like I can add double scholars to a shift at that point if we're all the way full and somebody wants extra hours. I can't speak to every single hospital, but there is quite a bit of flexibility there if you're looking to do extra. It's a great question. Yeah?
When is the next hiring rotation? 'Cause I know that the ends tomorrow.
Yes. Yeah. So the next group that will open up after that for most of our sites will start shifting in June.
Okay.
And then a July start. Some may have slightly different schedules, so those get posted continually on the website. But I know most of us, our next group that starts after April will be June for that. It's a good question. Yeah.
So I wrote news down. So like I saw that you have like Washington programs. So like if like over the summer could you fit like a 3-month track like
You could.
into summer grade and it will like
Yeah, yeah. So if you wanted to, you'll need to look at the dates and everything to see what you want to do there. It depends on when you want to start. So you could just apply directly to the Seattle and try to match that up with your schooling. So that's an option for you. You could potentially apply at one site, start, and then transfer there for the summer, come back. It just depends on what your overall goals are for there. A good example is I have a student that applied. He's going to school at Purdue in Indiana, and we just like couldn't get the dates to work for him. And like we pulled this from like every direction. I'm like, okay, we send you up to LA. Can you do this? And it was just by the time he was back for the summer, he couldn't get through it in time and make it back. So you have to kind of play it by ear. In theory, yes, but it depends on the timing of your school. Great questions. Anybody else? Okay. So on my end, I gave you the spiel, the details, but I honestly think it's a little bit better if you hear from current scholars if you have questions for them. We're actually pretty lucky here, so I'll introduce both of you. I'm going to start with Eugene. Eugene is our Director of Administration at Kaiser Permanente Irvine. She started as a coordinator and quickly promoted up. And then she's done such a great job with our program. She's actually in a payroll now as a health scholar assistant supporting an additional site in Orange County. So that kind of gives you an idea of like where some things can go with that. And then we have Megan, who actually goes to our Hope site and recently joined as an enrollment coordinator. So she can give you a little bit of background on her experience as a scholar, her site, and really what made you join leadership too with that. So Eugene, I'll put you on the spot first. If you want to share a little bit about what you've got now, what you've learned, what's hard, or was hard.
So hi everyone, my name is Eugene. I joined the program December of 2022, so I've been here for a while. I would say the hardest part is starting out. So it is a little scary starting out the program just because me personally, I didn't have any like clinical experience, so that was the main reason I joined, and thankfully I did get that. But I think one of the hardest things for me is starting out a new department. It's like starting out a new class. You don't know what to expect. The staff are like the professors. Are they nice? Are they gonna hate you? Everyone's lovely and nice. They love teaching you if you ask them. So engage with the staff if you get the chance. Questions?
Why did you join leadership?
Leadership. I wanted to expand my experience and help other scholars. I was super scared joining, but then the leader got confident and I was like, love and return the favor and help other scholars. And that's kind of one of my favorite things about like leadership is training new scholars. Like Amy says, they come in scared, and then they just grow confident. And then when you're around
I'm also the enrollment coordinator for the Newport Hogue site. So I basically see people through application to interview, then to the clearance appointment, training day, and then to their first shift. One of probably my favorite things about the program is how you get to work alongside nurses. They love their health scholars. So they always are asking me to do, like, to help with stuff. Like, I've helped with, I don't do it myself, but I've helped with catheters, IVs, but like obviously I can't like poke people, but not yet. But yeah, I would say that for joining the Cope Health Scholars, you really, even if you're an introvert like I am, you have to put yourself out there, and then you'll get back what you put out. So yeah, whatever you give, that's what you get back. Like I want to go into anesthesia, for example, and an anesthesiologist just happened to come to our floor to do an in-room procedure. So I was talking to him, and he's like, "Oh, like you want to come and watch how I do this anesthesia?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So you definitely get that experience, find out what you want to do. So I honestly, I would definitely recommend this program. I was a little iffy on it at first, but because school, I have a part-time job. So, but you do get to build your own schedule, and you schedule your whole month's shifts like a month in advance. So it's very, very lenient with your schedule. So yeah, I definitely recommend.
Okay. I wish I could speak to you personally, but you're not my program, so. Another thing I'll share, because I thought this was really interesting too, is I had a doctor that has his own personal clinic, and he randomly reached out to me one day, and he's like, "I went through this Health Scholar program like 15 years ago, and he's like, are you guys still doing this?" And I was like, "We are." And he's like, "Well, can I come meet with you the next day?" And I was like, "Well, sure." It's like, "I'll bring you in, show you what we've got going on." And he was like, "This has developed into so much more." And he was like, "Well, can I go talk to a current scholar?" And I was like, "Sure, let's like go find someone." And she was just sharing a lot of what she gets to see and experience. And she's one of my shyer scholars, but I put her on the spot because I want her to grow, and I've been trying to pull her into leadership because she will be excellent at it. And she's just sharing some of the things she's been able to see and witness